What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Usually we do this show a little bit earlier in the day, but we're getting to it a little bit later tonight. What's up, Nez? Good luck in Miami this weekend, brother. Feed me picks. I'm rooting for Nez. I've decided I'm rooting for Nez in the Dog Bowl. Good luck to him, friend of the channel. What's up, Christian? We are live. Here today to go through the lobby on Underdog Fantasy, build 2 pick 5 slips, and get out of here. We'll try to keep the video streamlined. If you're not already in my Discord, link to join is in the YouTube description below. Make sure you're in there. Gave out this winner yesterday in my Discord. It was higher on Tony Pollard fantasy points. Really made me sweat for it. Really got there on the last carries of the game. Had so many opportunities for a touchdown, but didn't quite get there. Higher on Zach Charbonnet rush attempts. What a king getting that before he got injured. And then Noah Fant, higher receiving yards. There are some teams, such as the Seahawks, that I believe have shown when there are more positive matchups for their tight end than the wide receiver, they're going to make sure their tight ends get the ball. And that's what Dallas was. So we hit on this pick 3 here. Feels nice. Our pick 5 from last week, one of them was just the Bills game stack. Didn't quite get there. Stephon Diggs was like right on the line. Our other pick 5, Josh Downs failed the pick 5 with like 13 targets. Couldn't quite get over the 48.5 receiving yards. And Rashid Shaheed got hurt early in the game. So is what it is there. But if you're new here, we do the pick'em show on Friday. We go through each game, and then we build our slips. I mean, this week, though, I'm feeling really comfortable about a couple spots. So we're going to hit these spots hard. I mean, this is a game I've had circled on my calendar for a while. That would be Miami at Washington. Now, some of these lines get juiced up when the spot is so obvious, but I could not think of a more, I mean, this is absurd, of a better spot for Tyreek Hill. And so now we have to ask ourselves, Tyreek Hill's line is at 100.5 receiving yards. To me, the only way he fails this is injury. Pretty much it. This is just like the smash of all smash spots for Tyreek Hill. The only thing throwing a little wrench in our plan is what does the Jack Del Rio firing do to the Commanders? Like, was this Jack Del Rio in the era of cover 2 just being like, no, we don't run that here. We're not doing that. We're going to allow the deep ball. Or is it just they don't have the players to get there? We know Washington cannot generate pressure at all, especially after shipping out Montez Sweat and Chase Young. So how does it fail, Tyreek? I guess Mostert breaks a long run. I guess Achane, who's back, also introduces some uncertainty, but I don't care. We're going to go for it. But yeah, we'll get to there. We're going to go game by game. Don't really like anything on Denver's side ever. Samaje Perine has been like one of the best receiving backs in the NFL, but I doubt he's playing enough to care. I could think of worse spots for Will Lutz, but yeah, let's get away from the Denver offense. We're not going there. Houston's side is interesting. No Dalton Schultz. Tank Dell been banged up in practice. Let's see if they introduced Brevin Jordan. They did. So if we go to tight end and we go to the Houston Texans, Dalton Schultz ran 48% of the routes. He got hurt in the 4th quarter, I believe, and like pretty significantly, hamstring injury, what have you. I think this guy, Tegan Critoriano, has been banged up, and I don't know what his status is. We'll look into that. Eric Saubert, I think, is strictly a blocking guy. Brevin Jordan is a small tight end. He's kind of like Irv Smith to me. So he's athletic, small. We can see that he was 41% of the routes season high correlated with the Schultz injury. So if we're getting 100% Brevin Jordan against one of the worst defenses against tight ends, you know, receptions, receiving yards, I like it both for Brevin, but there are just a couple things we need to know. A is like, how hurt is Tank Dell? And really, it's that Quentin Tarantino guy. But I still think Brevin is a favorite to be around 70%, 80% of routes is my guess. It's just can he draw targets? But yeah, let's move on. Detroit at New Orleans is another really interesting game. I think this is a pretty good spot for Gibbs. Bijan in DFS land, it was music to my ears that people were playing JT and Derrick Henry. Now, they did get there with 2 rushing touchdowns, but it took 2 rushing touchdowns for them to put up scores. I just locked in Bijan versus the Saints. I really like this spot for Gibbs. I don't know if I'm actually going to get there in DFS land. It's kind of like Kyron Moore, and it's going to have to be an either or. But the Saints are one of those teams who plays fast pace, but are not good. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for Gibbs. We know Gibbs is an explosive runner. We've seen ETN get there on the Saints. We just saw Bijan get there on the Saints. The real question for Gibbs is you can't just like look at these past couple weeks and be like, all right, well, Gibbs, this is the workload. Because what we don't know is what happens when Detroit is not trailing majorly, right? And we have to think through why was Detroit trailing majorly against Green Bay, against Chicago? Well, Goff just threw like turnovers, you know? So we have to ask ourselves, I mean, obviously Goff just throwing picks is not a predictive, repeatable thing. Like it happened 2 games in a row. It's probably not going to keep on happening. So what happens when Detroit is not trailing New Orleans? I don't know. Maybe Montgomery gets more work, what have you. Jameson Williams has kind of been one of my favorite guys to just bet the over on and close your eyes on. I think he, again, got positive buzz from Ben Johnson. I don't know if we're going to pull it this week, but 70, oh no, this is Josh Reynolds, sorry. 55%, 66%, 62%. Now, these were 2 majorly trailing games. But what is nice is ADOT of 29, ADOT of 17. Catchable target rate also very high. You know, he's not a huge target drawer, but when the guy has an ADOT of usually 15 plus and his receiving prop is only 23.5, well, you need the dude to catch 2 balls to get there. So I definitely like the receiving yards more than the receptions. You know, it's just we're not going to get a lot of Jameson Williams 5-yard catches. That's just not a lot of what his game is. Again, uncertainty where in a non-trailing game script, what does his workload look like? But to me, the Lions are unquestionably best when Jameson Williams is on the field. And these are just kind of the lines I like, you know, like low number, high ADOT guy. So we'll definitely keep JMO in our memory here as we move forward. It's a good matchup for Laporta as well. Kind of a low receiving prop for someone just in his role. And then Cleve Raymond, if, you know, the ESPN analytics is not for everyone, but it is a decent tool, I think, for spotting outliers, both like bad and good. And if you go by open score, Cleve Raymond, one of the top in the NFL, kind of makes sense. Overall is not as jazzed on him. You know, he's respectable 67. But the open score is measuring their ability to get open. That, you know, it definitely probably overweights slot wide receivers. No, this is probably just poor posture. So thank you, Nick. Them traps be trapping. Yeah, this is just me being hunchbacked. So thank you for that. Actually, the opposite of it, dude. I need to get back being active. But yeah. Anyways, Cleve Raymond, good talent. Doesn't play a lot though. Let's see. Yeah, 34% of the routes, like really strong target numbers, but I don't know. Let's move on. The Saints side is way more interesting to me. Let's see who they're even allowing. Yeah, they're not giving us anyone. The 2 players I most want to see a line from are A.T. Perry. He's just running a route on a lot of their snaps. It's a good spot for outside wide receivers. And then the other one is Juwan Johnson, which they're just not giving us a line on. And I mean, Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara both could have big games as well. But let's move on. Miami at Washington. I mean, Tyreek in somehow, some way, I like. I'll think through fantasy points versus receiving yards. I like them both more than receptions. This could totally be like a 5-catch, 140-yard game for him. Nick's got me in my head about my posture. I got to work on that, dude. We all do, I'm sure. But anyways, let's move on. Nothing else from Miami. They're giving us Achane numbers. Let's see, what are they? They're kind of low numbers. And to me, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense for Miami to rush their Achane out for this winnable game. But he did technically, I think, get the start two games ago before he got hurt immediately. So we'll see what happens there. Sam Howell, I could have sworn this line was at like 280 earlier today. Maybe I was wrong checking that, but yeah, I mean, the expected game script here is Miami's going to score explosively, and Washington is just going to rack up a bunch of passing attempts. So if I had to choose a Howell line, it's probably passing yards. Oh, we got more stuff on him. Passing attempts, 38.5. He's been at 44, 45, and 44 the past 3 games. So I kind of like passing attempts. Doesn't get there if he gets hurt. Doesn't get there if Washington is somehow winning by a lot and like running the ball. But I mean, seems like a safe enough bet over 38.5 passing attempts. Don't even need completed balls there. Let's see. Diving into the Washington guys. Line feels low for Curtis Samuel. I think the Curtis Samuel usage last game had a lot to do with Dallas' ability to get quick pressure. I'm kind of expecting Miami to get quick pressure too. So we'll keep that one in mind. Definitely been worse spots for Logan Thomas. It's a tight end positive matchup for them. And yeah, let's move forward. Indy at Tennessee. This is going to be a Zach Moss, a bunch of workload game. Let's dive into the Colts running back because it's been a while. But yeah, it's pretty much just like Ben said. It's going to be Zach Moss back to this type of workload. I don't know when Gardner started playing quarterback. Gardner played week 2, 3, and 5 most of the game. So let's look at 2, 3, and 5 because that correlates with Zach Moss elite workloads, 3 and 5 at least. And again, it was 2, 3, and 5. Moss 2, 3, and 5 was all at okay. So he ran a route on 91, 37, and 64. So a little mixed usage there, but 2 games with like elite route rates. He was getting targets too in all of the games. Target per route run number is strong enough where I don't know. Those are some low numbers that kind of makes me like the 18.5. I think it's a high line though. It's not my favorite spot. Let's move on. Nice thing about Indy's offense, pace up. It's pretty narrow. Josh Downs got 13 targets. Tennessee is a bit of a better matchup for the slot. So Josh Downs definitely in the mix on our cards. Pittman, not a bad spot either, but it's kind of like, why take Pittman when you can get Downs, who's getting similar workload numbers? 13 and 5. Yes, Pittman caught his balls more, but let's see, why was his catch rate so low? So Pittman's catchable target rate was 85%. Downs was at 50%. So it just seems like I didn't watch this game fully, I don't think, but it just seems his catchable targets were, I guess he was just getting some like deep A-dot prayers. / Gardner Minshew is not great at football always. That's probably what that was. But yeah, if I had to choose a guy from Indy, it is Downs. Don't think I want anything from Tennessee. There's been worse spots for DeAndre Hopkins. Treylon Burks might play this game with the concussion. So, yeah. Arizona, Michael Wilson already ruled out. I think it is a good spot. Why aren't we getting lines on like Dortch and crew? We already know there's no Michael Wilson. But yeah, Arizona is like huge underdogs if you believe Vegas, and Pitt is like one of the top teams out there. So kind of surprising just to see that disparity. Going back to the well on Jaylen Warren, I think is logical. You know, you just need him to break a couple long runs. He let us down somewhat last week in DFS. He did hit over on his rushing prop, and he fumbled in this game. So, but yeah, definitely Freiermuth receiving yards. I just like it, man. Cardinals run a lot of cover too. They threw over the middle of the field. It's kind of a low receiving prop for a dude who just went 11, 9, 120. Cincinnati is like one of the nut matchups for tight ends, so we need to keep that in mind, and running backs. But yeah, Freiermuth, 34.5 receiving yards, cruises to that. Let us know what you think on that one, Nez. I know you're a Pitt fan. Chargers at New England. Boo. Where is Jalen Guyton? Guyton, I would definitely take the over on whatever line they're laying. Keenan Allen is historically a better wideout against, I think, zone-heavy defenses, which most defenses are, versus man-heavy defense. That's only noteworthy because New England is running man, I think, at the highest rate in the NFL. It's Keenan Allen. I promise I will not remember every man-heavy defense off the top of my head, but let's see if we got any matchups there. The Chiefs run press man, so that's like a decent one to look at. Yeah, and he had a bad game, 4-9 and 55 against the Chiefs. The Dallas run a lot of man. He had an okay game. Yeah, pretty good actually. 11, 7 and 85. Chicago zone. Minnesota is like a unique defensive scheme. So yeah, I think Kansas City and Dallas are the only ones I like know for sure. Or Dallas is like unquestionably a man-heavy defense, and Kansas City like presses a lot, which is not great for Keenan. So all that goes to say is I like the lower on the 92.5 receiving yards for him. It takes insane target volumes for him to get there. So it's kind of nice. He's not a deep A-dot guy. New England's so bad. Like, are they going to be needing to target Keenan Allen 16 times? The Chargers are effectively out of the playoffs. And I think when you're out of the playoffs, like, are you going to try dink and dunk on Bill Belichick? Or are you going to go out there and try to throw some motherfucking Hail Marys to Jalen Guyton? I'm of the Hail Mary crew. I promise you. If I'm a quarterback in the NFL, we're out of the playoffs, I'm trying to get those stats up. And I just could see that happening. So we'll keep the Keenan under. I also need Keenan to bust in a main event. Yeah, just a high line, and I don't think it's a good matchup for him. Atlanta at New Jersey. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this game. I think it's a good spot for Bijan. There have been worse spots in the world for Tyler Conklin receiving yards. It's just kind of like, do we really need to do anything on Jets Atlanta? No, I'll spare you guys on that. No, dude, it's Jalen Guyton over. QJ was benched last week, not hurt, benched. Carolina at Tampa Bay. Frank Reich was fired, so the real question is, and I saw some rumblings that like Frank Reich refused to run RPO, which is like apparently what Bryce Young is best at. What I like most is probably his like over on rushing yards, but who knows what this team looks like without with the change. We also don't know what the running back rotation will look like with the change. Jonathan Mingo is one of like the worst wide receivers in the NFL. So that's that. I don't think I looked at any New England players. And I didn't mean to skip over them because I am interested in what the New England lines are. Yeah, Bailey Zappi, probably going to be the starter. So Devontae Parker, if I had to choose a Patriot, probably my favorite, just in hopes that like he got like these like wide receiver screens last week against a blitz heavy Giants team. They'll probably also run more 12 personnel with the wide receiver injuries. Pop Douglas is concussed. So I would guess that means like more Gesicki and Hunter Henry. Tyquan Thornton's going to be out there. He's explosive. But yeah, no. Skip. All right. Carolina, Tampa Bay. Yeah, I mean, Rachaad White, after he was questionable last week, I think was on the field for like almost all the snaps. 89% of the snaps. 80% of the routes. So we know that Carolina is a good rushing matchup. That's probably being baked into his line though. And so I don't know. Rushing yards from Rachaad White, probably not the worst play on the board, but let's keep it moving. There are other spots that look better. What up, dude? Trying to rip some pick'ems here. San Fran at Philly. Definitely like me some Purdy. And my read on, and I want to look into this. Is the Philadelphia Eagles defense from watching that Bills game is like decimated with some injuries. I mean, Lane Johnson is a big one. Okay, so this was the practice report yesterday. So the big ones to care about are Fletcher Cox, which once he got out of the game, the Bills pretty much just pivoted to like, we're going to run the ball a bunch. And like we had a bunch of first and whatever runs that did not work. Also, what I noticed from that Bills game is the Bills targeted their running backs a lot. And I think some of that's Joe Brady. I think some of that is trying to pick on the linebacker injuries. I always forget if it's Nakobe or Jacoby. I think it's Nakobe. Dean, also their linebacker, is hurt. Like they're like one of the top candidates to sign the dude just cut from the Colts, the linebacker, Williams or something. But yeah, they got a bunch of defensive injuries. And my take on that is I think all of Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, whatever could have big games. Okay, let's see. Zach Cunningham out, so that's their linebacker. And Justin Evans out. Fletcher Cox is questionable and missed practice Friday, so he's probably out, is what they're saying. But yeah, so they're going to be banged up. And my take on that is this is just going to be a monster. Darius Leonard, thank you. This is going to be a monster CMC game. Hard to say if I want to do rushing yards, receiving yards, or combo. I think they're going to try to pick on their linebackers many different ways. So let's just get in receiving yards right now. I mean, like the James Cook, Latavius Murray combo went for like 100 receiving yards. So if we just kind of copy and paste that a little bit, makes sense. I also think Debo could do it. Yeah, like all these guys could do it. So I like Purdy just by himself. I like Tua, obviously, with the Tyreek. And yeah, so like I think like just like a Purdy and CMC correlation makes sense to me. Let's move on. Look at the last game. We're not going to do the night games, but Cleveland at the Rams offers a couple interesting spots. One is David Njoku over 5 catches feels like one of the best spots to me. You know, target totals of 9, 15, 9. Joe Flacco is playing this game. Announced the starter. Joe Flacco's not mobile at all, right? Like this has got to be dump off nation to Njoku, Elijah Moore, and whatnot. Maybe they'd pivot to Jerome Ford, whatever. There is the Jets narrative, of course, Flacco to Elijah Moore. I like Njoku better. He's just like, to me, when you're an NFL offense and you need to give like a little dump off to a player and then just like have that player go be great and carry your offense, kind of like what the 49ers skill players do with Purdy somewhat, you give that ball to David Njoku. The dude got his face burned off and has been absolutely crushing still. So yeah, I like Njoku. On the Rams side, the Browns, I think, have a lot of injuries to their defense. Like maybe they're missing like 4 starters. Let's look that up. The Browns. This was on. Nope, this was November 3rd. Cleveland Browns. I wish there was like a much better streamlined way to do this. Browns practice report. I'm not as familiar with reporters there. Field Yates tweet from 2021. Awesome. I doubt our friends at ETR have any defensive stuff there. No. Okay. Let's see. What do you got on this site for us, lady? Just give us the effing report. We do not want to watch you. I think what I got from that, though, is Myles Garrett is playing. Let's just look at Myles Garrett. Which matters a lot, right? Apologies, Myles. Got to spell your name right. Got to spell your name right. Okay. Browns DN Myles Garrett says he has no restrictions from his shoulder injury. He's good to go. So he is playing. All right, so maybe he's a little banged up. He's going to play. And that matters, obviously, for their pass rush. Kyren Williams is, to me, just like the RB2 in fantasy football. So if they're going to give us some lower lines due to Cleveland's defense, we're going to attack that. What logically makes sense to me is if a team has a good pass rush, like Cleveland, you're going to hit some running back screens. You're going to hit the running back a little bit more. That didn't bear out against Philly, who has a good pass rush, by the way. So let's look into that theory. All we got really is like Kyren beating up on the Rams. Okay, so he played Indy, which has like an okay pass rush. San Fran, which has a strong pass rush. 10 targets, 6 catches. Arizona, 6-6. They don't have a pass rush. Cincinnati, a little bit better at rushing the passer, 2-7-27. So I like Kyren something. I don't know if I want to do rushing yards, rushing attempts, receiving yards, or just that he scores a touchdown, which also seems like a decent bet on any given week. But yeah, okay. So let's bang out a slip here. We'll build another one. We're throwing Tyreek on this one. We're just going to do receiving yards. And let's add Njoku receptions. Njoku to catch 5 balls. We got hope that the passing volume doesn't crater with Flacco and that he doesn't like hone in on Elijah Moore. But yeah, I like it. So this one is, I'll share these in the chat. Of course, put whatever limits you want to put on that. This is, or build another one with other players, I said, if those arguments hit you better. Some people have had success saying that. This one is Freiermuth over 34.5 receiving yards. Keenan lower than 92.5. CMC higher than 31.5 receiving yards. Tyreek higher than 100.5. Absurd. Njoku over 4.5 receptions. Let's build a second one and get out of here, and I'll go enjoy our Friday night. All right. Purdy passing yards. We're going to do it. We're going to throw in Tyreek and CMC again, too. I think Philly's just going to lose. But also it is a good spot for AJ Brown. So let's see if they lowered his line at all. 73.5. The way San Fran plays defense versus the way teams like Buffalo plays defense could allow AJ Brown to have a game here. We're just going to be with the fish on Tyreek. Why not? Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting the routes to go up to 80% here for Freiermuth. Unless their blocking tight end just plays too much, Darnell Washington. And so the really only way Freiermuth fails to me is if they are able to just run the ball so much. Because I like that line. Let's get Freiermuth in there. We're going to do the CMC receiving again. With the Purdy passing. Let's do Tua passing too. So this one, we just got some correlation going for us. It is Purdy over 254.5 passing yards, Tyreek over 100.5 receiving, Tua over 285.5 passing, Freiermuth over 34.5 receiving, and CMC over 31.5 receiving. So some correlation here for us. We got the Purdy to CMC, and we got the Tua to Tyreek, and then Freiermuth, who we just think is a good standalone play with a low line. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it. Good luck to us. Good luck to me. Good luck to you. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If you're not already, please join the Discord, hit the little like and subscribe, and I'll see you on Tuesday at the latest for the last week of the Best Ball Mania 4 leaderboard show. Peace out. Actually, no, I'll do one more week by myself where we see who won the regular season prize. Peace out, guys.